everything has been too fast.
Just really bad fatigue, just wouldn't go anywhere.
Years where I haven't seen progress.
It went way beyond just my legs.
For runners, there's a very fine line between pushing yourself to new heights and pushing yourself over the edge.
Yeah, we've all heard the phrase no pain, no gain, but actually how much truth or sense is there in that?
Yeah, is it possible to train too much? To push yourself so hard towards making progress that you actually go backwards? So today we're looking at overreaching and overtraining. What they are, the warning signs to look out for, how to prevent them, and how to recover from them.
Yeah, because it's likely that for most of us runners, at some point we will have taken a step somewhere onto the path of overtraining. So we're going to be sharing our own experiences. Stay tuned for that.
So let's put it out on the table. We're all runners. A lot of us want to go faster. A lot of us want to run further. Surely running more is the key to this.
Not so fast, because I often hear the analogy of stacking bricks in training. And it seems quite obvious. Each run is a different brick and you want to build a nice, big, strong wall. But to me, that's not quite nuanced enough. And I actually like to think of it like a game of Tetris.
Nice.
In this game, your fitness is your score. And each block that drops down is a different type of run. So your recovery, your nutrition, your stress management, all of that stuff, that's what enables you to have the control to be able to move those blocks around and put them in exactly the right place.
And the goal of the game isn't just to let all of the blocks pile up, it's placing them strategically in order to clear lines. If you cleared the line, then the line disappears and your score goes up. And if you do this enough, then you level up. This magic moment is called super compensation. It's where your body has adapted and you become fitter. So this means the game gets a little bit faster and you get a nice boost to your score too.
But that's where it gets risky, because what happens if it gets too fast and all your blocks start stacking up? This is when we move into the risky territory of overreaching.
A little bit of planned overreaching though can be a powerful tool. So imagine this, you're in a high speed level, blocks are flying all over the place, the board is really messy, but you're ready for it because you know that nice straight long eye block, your recovery week, is coming. You slot it in, clear 4 rows at once, and bam, you've got a higher score than you've ever got before. This is what we call functional overreaching.
Yeah, amazing. But what happens if you don't have a strategy to clear that board when things are moving really quickly? This is when things get riskier and we can move towards non-functional overreaching. You're frantically trying to survive. The blocks are going all over the place. There are gaps, there are holes, your score has stagnated and you've lost control. This is what we all need to avoid.
Keep playing through this and not only will the blocks keep falling, but they'll start to pile up. Suddenly they'll reach the top of the grid, the screen will flash, game over.
This can lead to overtraining syndrome. Thankfully much less common than non-functional overreaching, but it's still something that affects a lot of runners. But here, you haven't just lost the game, your system has crashed and it needs a hard reset. And it's not just the classic symptoms of fatigue, it's going to affect your immune system, your hormones, your neurological system, and it could take months to recover.
So hopefully the takeaway from this is relatively simple. The falling Tetris blocks are only going to help increase your score if you give yourself the time and space in order to clear the lines. And to reach a new high score, then the speed of your game needs to be matched by your strategy for recovery.
As we've said, anyone can be affected by overtraining, and we've both had our own run-in with overtraining.
Yeah, so how have you experienced it in the past?
A couple of years ago, I just had this just really bad fatigue. Just wouldn't go anywhere. But it wasn't like normal fatigue. You know how at the end of hard weeks and training blocks, you just feel tired. But it wasn't like that. It was different. It was a really deep ache. And it was an ache that I couldn't shift. And it went way beyond just my legs. I really felt it. Psychologically, I felt it. I was really drained. And my job as a writer. And I found it really hard to just put words together. So once I started realizing that it wasn't just my legs, and it was starting to affect me in other ways, that's when I kind of had to take more notice of it. It's really hard to know where that line is, that line between training really hard and functionally overreaching and then going non-functional. And unfortunately, probably you don't realize until it's too late. For me, I realized too late.
Yeah, I don't think I've experienced overtraining in the same way, but I've definitely had periods of my running where just everything has been too fast. And there have been like years where I haven't seen progress, but I think because there are so many different areas of running, I've probably run all of my runs too fast, been really stressed in other areas of life, and then have maybe been training for a 5K and then I've just gone, oh, I'll just train for a marathon instead. And so I've kind of buried it a little bit. And actually, I found forcing myself to take like big periods of recovery between blocks, again, like tackling stress that might be coming through work, personal life, whatever it might be, then means that you can like piece together your training again and go really hard, because there's such a big difference between a run that can clear your head and a training run. And it might be that you love the training, but actually it only takes a few different factors in other areas of your life to just really make the training detrimental to everything else that you're doing. We would love to hear if you have any experiences with overtraining, or if any of this is resonating with you. Please do jump in the comments and we will read through all of your replies. And now let's dive a little bit more into the theory behind overtraining.
So unfortunately, any runner can be at risk of overtraining, even if it feels like you're training at what's usually a normal amount.
Yeah, for most runners, the cause most often comes down to an imbalance between stress and recovery.
So let's start off with stress. First up, you've got training stress. So this is those sudden ramp ups in mileage or intensity that your body just isn't prepared for, whether that's training for a new goal or you've just suddenly got a surge in motivation.
Yeah, and then there's life stress. And your body can't really tell the difference between the stress from a 10-mile run and stress from that work deadline or financial issues or whatever other stresses you've got going on in your life. And it all just creates the same stress response in the body. In terms of the game of Tetris, it's like someone turns the music up so it's really intense, and they throw a load of extra little blocks in that you have to try and deal with.
So next up, recovery. So this is where your sleep, rest and nutrition aligns with the training effect in order to help you improve. But it's so important to optimize both your sleep and your nutrition in order to rebuild effectively.
The combination of your training and life stress outweighs your body's ability to recover from it effectively. That's when you're most at risk of overreaching and overtraining. How do you know if you're at risk of non-functional overreaching? Well, the body's going to give you warning signs. You just need to learn how to listen to them and know how to respond to them.
Yeah, so first of all, these signs are going to show up in your training.
The main thing that you're going to feel is going to be fatigue. That could be a full body fatigue, but actually most commonly it's going to be in your legs. So you're going to feel this as a deep ache. And this is not like the aches you get after a hard workout. This is going to be much more persistent and it's going to last for a few days. It's also probably going to start affecting your performance. So those paces that you could run easily a couple of weeks ago, they're going to feel harder now.
And signs are also going to show up in your day-to-day life as well.
Yeah, this isn't just physical. So this is going to be mental fatigue. You're going to start having mood changes. Maybe your appetite is going to change. It's also really going to affect your sleep, and that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, so hard training produces cortisol, which is also known as the stress hormone. High levels of cortisol can lead to anxiety, irritability, and mood swings. It can also impact your ability to go into deep sleep. So if you are feeling exhausted, but your quality of sleep really isn't very good, then this is a surefire sign that your body is telling you to just back off a little bit.
And there are signs that show up in data.
Yeah, so measurable data can be a great way of confirming any suspicions if you think you might be at risk of overtraining. So that's where your running watch or a fitness tracker really becomes a powerful tool.
Resting heart rate is going to be one of those things to look out for. So it can be a measure of stress and your body reflects that in your resting heart rate. So if you notice that your heart rate overnight is a bit elevated or that on an easy run is a little bit higher than usual, then that could be a couple of warning signs to look out for.
Also, heart rate variability or HRV can be a really good tool to look at. So essentially this metric is looking at how your body is handling all of the different stresses. So if you do have a steady decline in your HRV, this could be a great warning sign that your body perhaps isn't recovering as well as it could be and that you need to back off a little bit before you become at risk of overtraining.
Yeah, and linked to that is your immune system. So this is another way to tell if maybe you're pushing a little bit too hard. If you start feeling run down, start feeling ill, then that's definitely a really good sign that actually you need to back off and take a few days to recover.
A lot of these signs, such as frequent illness, loss of appetite, unintended weight loss, and for women changes in the menstrual cycle, can point towards a condition known as relative energy deficiency in sport, or RED-S. This is essentially a state where your body doesn't have enough fuel to function, let alone perform at its best. It is separate to overtraining syndrome, but a lot of the symptoms can overlap, so that's why we felt like it's an important one to mention here.
Yeah, and the key is to pay attention. There are lots of different factors here, and your body is constantly communicating with you. So it's really important that you're listening to your body. You know, how is your running performance? How is your mood? How are you feeling? How are your health metrics? You know, you need to be checking in on these to see how things are going. And to link it back to the game of Tetris, are you in control or are you struggling here? The good news is that it's actually easier to prevent overtraining than it is to fix it.
Yeah, so our first tip is to plan smart. So a good training plan isn't just going to relentlessly take hits at your fitness. Instead, it's going to use a method called periodization.
Yeah, and that means structuring around periods of stress and adaptation. For most training plans, that's going to look like a few hard weeks, followed by an easy week, and repeating that structure. Most training plans, say if you're using Runner, are going to have that pre-built in. But if you plan your own training, then that's just something that you need to be thinking about.
Next up, be patient. The most common mistake that we see is people taking on too much volume too quickly. So a good general rule of thumb is to only increase your weekly mileage by around 10% each week. This gives your body a manageable level of stress to adapt to, allowing you to train to become fitter and faster.
Yeah, and we really want you to nail your training and get everything right. But you really have to listen to your body and the warning signs that it gives you.
Yeah, so if you are feeling exhausted, if the paces are feeling harder than they should, or if you're seeing trends in the data that aren't quite right, then act on it. Either swap out an interval session for a rest day, or just turn that interval session into an easy run instead.
And finally, consider building within a community.
Yeah, so if you run as part of a club or you've got running buddies in person or online, then check in on them. Quite often it's going to be your friends who point out if you are looking a little bit worn out before you admit it yourself. I'm definitely guilty of this.
And we're both members of the Running Channel Club, and that's where we share a lot of our training updates. And it's a brilliant place where we're accountable for both the hard work that we're doing in our training and also that recovery.
So to sum up, plan your stress and recovery intelligently, progress patiently, listen to your body with honesty, and lean on your community too. And there is your recipe for success in building fitness, keeping overtraining at bay, and running stronger for longer. In case you've heard anything that feels a little bit too close to home up until this point, let's talk through what to do if you do spot the early warning signs.
Yeah, the very first thing you need to think about is recovery. Your body is only able to rebuild at rest, and that's really crucial. So if you're not already thinking about your recovery, and that means rest, it means sleep, it means nutrition, then you really need to start focusing on these, and they need to become a priority. These are not an add-on at the end. These days of rest and recovery are as important as every hard training day.
So we've got a 4-step master plan to help you with your recovery. Let's break it down.
Step 1, it's time to take a break. You've dug yourself into a hole and it's time to get out. Take away all structured training. That means all hard workouts and all long runs.
Step number 2 is recharge. So the focus here should be on recovery, specifically focusing on sleep and nutrition, which are the most powerful tools for recovery.
Yeah, and step 3, return to some gentle active recovery. This could be walking, it could be stretching, could be mobility, things that make you feel good about moving again.
And then step 4, start to come back slowly. Don't just jump straight back into your old routine, but start off with some gentle movements, some easy runs before building back into your previous training schedule.
The time you need to recover is directly related to the severity of your symptoms. So if you listen to your body and follow these tips, you could actually be back within a week or 2.
Yeah, whereas if you ignore the early warning signs, then you do risk tipping over into overtraining syndrome, and then you're looking at months of recovery in order to get back.
So let's bring it all together. We've looked at the hows, the whats, and the whys of overtraining, and we're going to bring it back to that simple image that your fitness is like a game of Tetris.
Yeah, we're often told as runners to celebrate the high-speed sessions, embrace the pain cave, and really, really work hard, but running fitness isn't built on this alone.
It's important to value clearing lines as much as it is to survive every falling block. And we need to think about our recovery as more than just time off. Recovery is the thing that gives us the control that enables us to put those blocks in the right places, meaning we can clear lines and level up our fitness.
Yeah, so prioritise your recovery just as much as you're prioritising your training, and this is going to be the key to success.
Now, why don't you check out how some of our training is getting on? So here's Tom taking on a hill training session as part of his half marathon training.